Hello, card friends. I'm Chaz.
I'm Alexi.
I'm Joe.
I'm Tori.
And this is
Rainbow Reverse.
Before we say what we're going into, I would like to thank everyone for getting us to 100 subscribers.
100.
Yeah, so thank you so much for everyone who's been following us over the last 6 months. We've got a lot more stuff to come, and we're going to make a special video just to commemorate the occasion. But we'll get to that later. For now, today we're going to be talking about the premium ban list. Now, this isn't going to be like an unbiased news report on the list. It's going to be us actually just discussing our feelings and thoughts on the bans. And I'm sure we'll agree on probably most of everything, but I know there's a couple of things that we're going to disagree on that we can have some...
just gonna turn into a 30-minute video of you defending Zay.
Yeah.
Just talking,
Yeah.
and it'll be fun. And like I said, this is like a casual video. This isn't gonna be some like in-depth, wild meta breakdown that all the top tier players can sit down and analyze. We're just goofing around. We play the game for fun, and if you have a problem with that, well, you know, you can flame me in the comments. All right.
I have a question to start off. If Different Fights video was called your favorite Vanguard YouTubers discuss the ban list, what is ours called?
The sexiest Vanguard YouTubers discuss the ban list.
Okay. All right.
Should I leave the room? Like, do I need to...
Tori.
All right, so we're gonna actually get into it. And the first one, I do actually have some stuff to discuss with. First, we have a choice restriction between Zeroth Dragon of Zenith Peak Ultima and cards with the over trigger icon. I don't hate this choice restriction existing. My preference would have been no over triggers in premium. And that is my opinion about that. I do think Ultima with an over trigger is totally busted, and I understand not wanting to let that card be able to abuse it. But every other clan still having both a Zeroth Dragon and an over trigger is just like, I would rather them just not had over triggers. That's my opinion.
It did feel like very pointed towards like United Sanctuary, but I mean
Yeah.
Ultima is the best Zeroth Dragon, but I feel like
Isn't Ultima the only one that actually interacts with triggers?
Ultima can tutor a card and put it on the top of the
It puts two cards on the top of your deck. So
that's busted.
and it gives all of the effects of the trigger.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The other Zeroth Dragons, I don't know a whole lot about them, but I don't think they have like specifically trigger interactions.
It is specifically busted with Ultima
Yes.
over the other ones.
So yeah, it's like if you have Ultima, you just play Ultima, tutor your over trigger, and then put it on top. So
Oh,
it's
yeah, for
perfectly
sure.
fine to ban it. But I like the over trigger.
you're the only one. You're the only one.
I am fine with the over trigger existing in overdress. I just don't like it in premium. And here's my other thing though about this specific restriction. Say you're playing like Gold Paladin, where everyone says you should play Ultima over the over trigger. Say you're going into your wild Ultima turn, and then your opponent damage checks an over trigger. And then it doesn't matter all the power and stuff you gave, because they're just going to sit there and be like, well, guess what? You're not checking an over trigger and taking that 100 mil to me. So you just end your turn, you lose your G zone, and then your opponent probably just like can come back at that point because you've overextended, so you could win.
I feel like
And
maybe
that's
they
going to
should.
suck.
I mean, I think I agree. I think they should have just banned over triggers in premium.
I wouldn't hate an over trigger ban. Again, I get it with Ultima because it has a tutor. I also think it forces a bit of deck build diversity because there are some clans that want Ultima, there are some clans that want the over trigger, there are some clans that can do either. So it's nice that the United Sanctuary clans win cons are not all just Ultima over trigger now. But I guess I understand like defensives, but that is completely random as an over trigger is supposed to be.
That's my main thing about it, though, is you're basically saying you're okay with everyone else randomly surviving the game, but you sacrifice that for yourself a little bit, which I don't think is necessarily the most important thing ever. Ultima is a insanely good card. It's just, I feels like a tough choice to me in some ways. That said, I play Royal Paladin, where I'm fine to just go into Crystal Luster with my GB3 guard restrict and just swing with Blaster Blade a couple of times and call it a day. So like, I'm like pretty whatever personally by it, but the overarching implications are interesting.
I mean, between the three of us, we play all the, or I guess, well, between the four of us, we play all the United Sanctuary. Just because, like, you don't play any United Sanctuary.
I really don't. Oh, God.
Between the three of us, we all play, like, almost all of the United
Except
Sanctuary
Genesis.
clans, except for Genesis. So, and I feel like even in, like, I play Susanoo in Premium, and I play Luard, of course, and I feel like I would just rather play the Overtrigger in those ones anyway. I feel like you can't not play the Overtrigger, but I don't know if it's the same for Angels.
It depends on the Angel build. I would run Ultima in a no-kill build. I would probably pick the Overtrigger in a Gavro build. But what's interesting about Angels is not a lot of people run. The Keter Overtrigger is very busted. It's very huge, obviously. But it really puts you at a danger of decking out late in the game. So there are some people that opt to just use the generic one anyway. And the generic one doesn't really, like, do a lot. So
Yeah.
it's really, Angels is very open to build and preference in that regard.
I did in BSF survive an Angel Feather Ultima Overtrigger turn because they used the generic one. They gave all this power, but I was able to G-guard into a perfect guard, and then none of this other stuff had like crits or whatever, so I could just take one of those 100 mil attacks, and I was like, fine. And then I was like, okay, bye G-Zone, my turn. And then I won, because I just went, again, Crystal Luster with guard restrict and a bunch of crits. Like, you know, there's ways around it, but also, like, it's annoying. Again, I would just rather say no Overtrigger. That's where I stand. But I can, this is like a fine restriction without them outright banning the Overtrigger. I think it's fair.
Yeah.
It's just, and like, I like what Joe said. Like, it encourages some more deck diversity. I like that. All right, the next one are two other choice restrictions that I think we probably don't have too much to say about. It's Bermuda Triangle with Colorful Pastoralfina and Unbeliever Girl Potpourri,
Yeah, Potpourri.
which is just an infinite loop
Yeah,
that, you know.
it's just they're getting rid of all the infinite loops, so they just hit this one. That's pretty much the only reason that it went, because it's not good.
And that one flew completely under the radar. We never really saw it in any sort of event or anything. But they're removing all that.
But yeah,
kind of
just like
stuff,
get rid of it,
might
just
as
take it
well.
out of the game.
Yeah.
But what I will say is that I think it does set a precedent that maybe in the future, if a player goes, I've discovered an infinite loop, they might just right away be like, all right, can't play it now. As opposed to letting it run wild for
they
about
should.
2 years like they just did with several cards.
I mean, that's what it's looking like with the balance philosophy, which I have more to say on, like, with later stuff.
I do believe there is some kind of interaction. Again, none of us really play Bermuda a whole lot except Tori, but I believe there is some sort of interaction with that one that's really nasty, but it still flew under the radar either way.
Honestly, I didn't even know about that loop. I knew you could. I knew you could technically loop Potpourri if you hit every single attack, but I didn't know that there was another card that also enables it.
Yeah, basically you, I believe it's Fina, right? Says your on hits can just happen.
Oh,
And then Potpourri is
when your
on
attack
hit,
hits
it bounce it, call a card from hand. So you can just
Yeah.
keep doing
Right.
this.
Right.
Yeah.
That's that's a magic loop, right?
Yeah, the thing is, it doesn't, unless you have a bunch of like force markers or whatever, like you don't gain power through keep doing it. So if your opponent hits defensives that are enough to stop the attack, then the infinite loop no longer matters. So like you said, it's not like a great infinite loop, it just is, and they were like, stop it. Don't do that anymore. Which is like, I'm fine.
Yeah.
No loops is good.
The next one is a bit of a defensive loop. Dark Irregulars, King of Masks, Dantarian, and Steam Mage Ashurda, which
That's like
a new
the new
overdress card.
I was watching some of the other Vanguard content creators, and basically, it might have actually been Joe who said this, but basically gives you like infinite guard, so you just never die.
Basically, you get a guaranteed 42k base every turn.
Yeah, which is stupid.
Yes.
So basically, your opponent would have to basically be playing a clan that just swung gigantic numbers. Because the thing about Dantarian is, yes, you can call grade 2 or Grados from your... Yes, you can call grade 2 or greater cards from Soul to Guardian Circle, but after that they would get retired like normal. Asherta can put itself back into the Soul after it's retired from Guardian Circle. So you just call 4 out, they go back in the Soul, next attack, you call the 4 out, they go back into Soul. So as long as your opponent couldn't swing to 42 or higher, you wouldn't have to drop anything from hand or call anything else out from Soul. Now, obviously, there would be attacks, especially in Premium, that would be big enough for that to be a problem, but...
It's just the implication of like how the hand economy and how
it at least skews it unfairly in the dark irregular players' favor, which, as we know, dark irregulars had a lot skewed unfairly in their favor before this ban list. So they were like, all right, we gotta bring these guys down a little bit.
That was also a funny one where as soon as they revealed it, everyone figured it out and went, come on. And Maury himself had to go on Twitter and say, we know. Just wait a minute. Just wait a minute. We know.
And he was like, this will never see the light of day outside of like play testing or whatever. All right, I think that's enough on that one. Straightforward. The next choice restriction is between 3 Pale Moon cards: Purple Trapezist, the original, the V Jumping Jill, and Flying Periton. Yeah. Originally, this was Purple Trapezist and Jumping Jill V were already choice restricted, and now they've just added Flying Periton to this selection.
Yeah.
To say similarly, don't get this unfair advantage, don't swing into infinite loops, etc.
Yeah, I mean that's basically it. Periton and our Purple Trapezist have been Pale Moon staples for a really long time. Like literally every Pale Moon deck list that that you look at is like put in 4 Periton or you lose. And Purple Trapezist was incredibly expensive too. So it's good that now maybe not.
Well, it's been reprinted now in the Pale Moon.
Oh yeah,
selection.
that's right. So it's even cheaper.
So it has brought the price drastically down.
Good.
Now it's not. Some people are like, oh, this is basically the soft Purple Trapezist ban because you want to play Parrington. I'm not a big Pale Moon player, but my understanding is that there are some deck builds and philosophies behind your deck build where you may want to run Purple Trapezist over Flying Parrington. It just depends on what you want your deck to do. Also, I think Pale Moon is fine. I think I was saying to Alexi the other day, I was like, Pale Moon just scares me if I have to face it, because much in line with its gimmick of the circus is I never know what it's gonna pull out. Like, I never know what to expect going into a Pale Moon matchup because there's so many weird cards and weird text that anyone can just throw in there to be like, oh, by the way, this thing does this thing from the Soul. And I'm just like, I could have never known that without reading every card in your Soul up to this point.
Yeah.
I think some of this choice restriction may also be just a design philosophy thing where they're trying to kind of limit solitaire turns that go on for an extremely long time.
Oh, you mean like Angel Feather turns? That.
Not even comparable to
so like 6 rescue checks.
But do you know how many things you could do with Flying Periton and Purple Trapezist at the same time? An ungodly amount of
I'm just saying.
Unprecedented amount of turn time.
You take your Soul and you go.
Yeah. Look,
all right.
The Pale Moon is just put this into Soul, pull this out of Soul. Oh, hey, there you have another card in your Soul that says when something comes out or goes into your Soul, you can do this with this card. Oh, and then you go to the top of your deck and you put a card in your Soul, and then
you sound a little salty.
I'm not.
Is there a reason for that?
I've only faced Pale Moon so many times because so many players have played Pale Moon against me, and it's not like I lose every time I go against Pale Moon. I don't have some weird bias against the clan. Outside of I know it just because of the way the clan is designed, it's an easy one to break. Just the way the mechanic around it works is just easy to break. So it's just the one you have to it's one of the ones you have to keep an eye on. The soul clans in particular, like Dark Irregulars also, it's just very easy to break, so you just have to keep an eye on it.
I feel like whenever I'm playing you in Silverthorns in Premium, I do something, you're like, of course you do that.
We do that with everything.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say
Every interaction,
literally,
no matter
it's
how
like-
innocuous.
Yeah, it's like,
Of
oh,
course.
you're
It's like
playing
you
Aqua
feel good
Force.
about
I'm like,
that.
oh, you're restanding all your
How dare you.
cards. So it's like, oh, you're playing Payment. Oh, you're calling new things out of the soul. Or
Oh, it's the first turn, you draw a card.
yeah, it's like, oh,
it's
Shadow
like,
Paladin,
wow.
you're gonna attack me 9 times with 1,000,000 power
9
and
times,
27
huh?
crits. Like, okay.
With 27 crits, huh?
Yeah.
Moving on.
Yeah, I was gonna say, moving on. I believe that's all the choice restrictions. And now we're getting to the actual straight up restricted cards. First one is Cray Elemental. Rain Elemental Zarzan. I think this one's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Unless you were specifically like I like the game to be busted kind of person, you did not like this card and you wanted it gone.
I watched a lot of videos about this, but the Solemn Vanguard, who is famously a Grand Blue player, was basically saying that the Zazan hit is like the Grand Blue hit.
Yes,
Yes.
Zarzan was supposed to be limited to 1 with Columbard. Grand Blue has 5 of them. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Easy.
people were like, get rid of Columbard, and it was like, oh, well, if you just get rid of Zarzan,
Yeah.
then Columbard is much less threatening.
Yeah, I feel like getting rid of Columbard would have been silly.
Columbard is like way too good for Grand Blue
Yeah,
to
I
like
think-
get rid of.
Yeah, I think Columbard is a fair enough card to keep around because also it's like you can not give them the damage to use it right away if you like want to sit for a second, or if you know they can use it later, you can try to like mitigate. You can bottleneck their damage. As
Or
I
you
like
just
to
kill them
say.
because they're Protect Clan.
Yeah,
So-
just rush them like wild before they lose their stuff. But you know, yeah, no, I like I said, I think Zarzan's easy. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, it's a general game reset, and then it kind of indirectly hits some clans that could use a little bit of a tap on the wrist for their early game.
Yeah.
It also just makes the game more fair.
Doesn't it like also give you GB?
Yeah, it flips a
Yeah.
card in your G zone so you can get access to GB1 as early as grade 1, which obviously
Absurd.
the game is not designed that way.
Yeah.
The whole point of the GB skills is that you can't use them till late game.
Yeah, and that is a good thing to keep that core philosophy of. 'Cause I think GB is interesting. Some of the cards are really bad, but definitely for some of the more broken ones, I think keeping that GB just like extending the game a little bit. Excuse me, not to the point where it's like too long. I feel like is like a good goal.
And in the same vein, the next card that was hit was Temposphere, which similarly was a flipper. Now, the thing that's interesting about Temposphere is one, a lot of people were like, well, it's deniable because it's a counterblast, so you can kind of keep your opponent from getting there early game, so there was like no point in using it. But again, if they did have the counterblast, you know, they would get that flip early, and they don't even need to run vanillas to use this one either. It's like this one's just straight up, you can play it. It says to search for vanillas, but you can miss the search because the cost is the flip, and that's the reason people would play it. It definitely hits a couple decks. Like, some people would also choose to run it in other stuff, but either way, it slows the game down again. No early access to GB. The only thing I hate about this is I spent like $45 on
I
3
know.
of them a little while ago, not like right before the ban list or anything, but it's just like I only used it in one deck, and
Which one?
it was my Messiah deck, which I used to get those Messiah flips so you could integral early and also do Vocal Goad and Dunamis early. But again, it's not like Messiah is some like top tier deck. I don't think Messiah was the intended hit of this card.
Yeah.
It's just a consequence of the hit.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, it doesn't really matter to me. Like, I like Messiah, it's one of my favorite archetypes, but I also know it's not like some top tier deck, so I wasn't like, oh no, my deck is
Yeah.
destroyed. It's like, okay, I have to go back to playing like a more normal version of this deck, which is fine. Like I said, it's mostly a casual deck anyway, so like, I don't mind it not being as good.
Yeah. I was a little bit surprised by that one, but I do think it's a good thing. same thing as Suzanne, just kind of a game speed reset, not letting you get GB early anymore, and also indirect hit to some clans, like Spikes gets slowed down a lot by this. Bruce has been bringing a lot of attention to Spikes recently. A lot of people were saying like, oh, they didn't touch Hell Hard. This is kind of them touching Hell Hard. This also makes clans like Neo Nectar finally truly in the grave. But you have to make sacrifices sometimes. I guess.
We already know there's too many clans. So.
When I was looking through the Neo Nectar stuff, it was bad. Like, it's all of it is keyword locked. Like, there's no fucking way.
Yeah, but just like you were saying with Messiah, this does hurt some like smaller kind of stuff. But I guess sometimes gotta make sacrifices.
Like it's fine. Like I said, I'm not like hurt about it, other than just like being like, well, I could have not bought it and that would have saved me a couple bucks. But
all right, let's go to the next one.
I want to talk about Bendy.
Okay, yeah, the next card is Shadow Paladin, freezing much Bendy, just straight up banned, restricted in all decks. A lot of people were expecting it to be somehow choice restricted with like Luards, though I do know that would run into there being like 4 things, but can't run with this Luard, can't run with this Luard, can't run with this Luard.
But also, what's wrong with that? I see a ton of...
It's the, sorry to interrupt you, but it's the superior stride that they're targeting, not specifically the superior ride itself.
Or the stride early.
Yeah, yes. Because they also banned another thing, I think,
coming up. Yeah.
That did the same thing. Basically because they don't want people to stride on their opponent's grade 2, which is like a great thing to do because if with premium you have like the G guards, but you had the same problem in V where like people would just die on their grade 2 turn. So I feel like that is where that restriction comes in, and to me that makes sense. As not like a Shadow Paladin player who's affected by it, that's where I think that the ban is good.
And that's fine. Like, I acknowledge Luard is already ridiculous. I don't run Bendy and Luard anyway, and it's fine. I feel like I would prefer Bendy just being restricted with Luard, because I feel like any other Shadow Paladin build, like, isn't top tier, isn't amazing, isn't even like B tier maybe. So like give them a little something.
The thing with that
give
is if you're not playing Luard, you just play a different grade 3, because it really doesn't matter what grade 3 you're playing. It's just as long as you just get to stride your opponent's grade 2.
I think that does matter though. I think that does matter.
I see what you're saying. It would be a nice tool for a deck that maybe struggles otherwise, but I think again it's a philosophy hit where they just don't want you to cheat striding anymore, or at least make the ones that are very impactful.
That's fine. I'll use her in V premium. It's fine.
Look, again, the whole point is just, oh hey, it's Morfessa. I'm on grade 2. Oh, like it's to prevent that from happening, because even in like the worse,
lower
shadow, like the ones that are not as good, but it's Shadow Paladin, so they're still probably at least annoying. Is like, yeah, it doesn't matter what the boss is. If your opponent is striding Morfessa and can use that ritual skill while you're on grade 2, no matter what you're playing, you're just gonna be like,
I die, or I have no hand going into my grade 3 turn,
and I'm okay with that.
And you know what?
I'm okay with
that. You're like, darn. It's too bad I picked Ultima over the Overtrigger, because that might help me not die right now. That's what you're thinking to yourself.
Okay, what if you're not using a United Sanctuary deck?
Well, okay, then you just hope for an Overtrigger at that point. But that's the whole thing. It's just not in the game.
Yeah, a lot of these bans are to enforce the idea that both players get to play the game.
That's valid.
Yeah.
Basically, if you can stride or ride up early, it has to be a very special thing, i.e. Ezel, basically. Yeah. Like, that's Ezel's gimmick. I think they're trying to keep it close to that. There are some other things that can superior ride, but they're not very good, so that's why they don't care.
I mean, if they're getting rid of all the loops, why not get rid of all of the superior riding to stride early thing? What's up with that?
Salty.
I'm a little salty.
I don't want to beat a dead horse, But it's like the other superior ride stuff. Superior riding is their whole gimmick. But this one is just like I superior ride and then kill
and
you.
then do all my other
Yeah.
and it's like it's just like, oh, this is just something that they added on top of what Shadow
I just don't see the
Paladin
problem
Because you
here.
can-
I don't
you
see
know,
what
you
the
can
pro- I'm feeling very
actually-
attacked right now.
You can
actually,
actually
so.
answer a Morfessa turn if Shadow Paladin is slowed down and you're able to get GB. You could
Yeah.
do the Grand Blue Denial Griffin and G-Guard their first attack and Denial Griffin their Dagda. And you completely, destroy their turn.
And the other
But you
thing,
have to be able to actually be able to
yeah.
grade 3
and the other
have
thing
a GB.
on top of that is Morfessa has a guard restrict. So
Right.
when you only have like 5 or 6 cards in your hand because you've just started the game, you're not going to be able to guard.
I don't think her guard restrict is insane because if you have plus
when you have 10 cards in your hand because you've
It
stridden.
gives plus 15 to your front row
And I think-
as well.
no, I think-
when your opponent is a 8 or 9 or
no,
10.
here's the thing. I acknowledge that Morfessa is ridiculous, but I feel like if everything has plus 15, you're gonna probably be guarding with 2 cards anyway. I feel like it's not like
Well, here's
Crazy.
what we're trying to say.
uh
Later in the game, you have a 10 card hand. 2
Uh-huh.
cards is 20%.
Mm-hmm.
At grade 2, you have 6 cards in your hand. So 2 cards is 30% of your hand, which is an enormous
Yeah.
amount.
I just
to guard.
don't see the
wait,
problem
Wait,
here. I don't
wait,
see-
to guard one to guard one attack when you have like probably more than 5.
Wow.
At a-
I can't
at
believe
a
y'all are like
minimum-
attacking
At a
me
minimum,
right now.
it's,
This is
it's
like
3 big attacks. At a minimum, it's 3 big attacks. But if Stand triggers and Dag does or whatever, it's even more. So,
Luard will be fine.
Also crits.
I don't even run Bendy and Luard. I'm just saying.
Well, look, there you go. Well, now no one can, and it's great. I think we're good to move on. I think,
All right,
I
yes,
think
next.
we've driven this one. Okay, I think we're all fine with this one too.
Yes.
Genesis, Goddess of Sound, Sleep Taro, completely restricted. A lot of people thought it was going to go to 1, so that way Genesis could have an attack extender available to them, but they were just like, no.
Do they need it?
This card enables too much, and it has for the history of the game, just ever since it's been created, just been enabling nonsense. So it's just like, all right, you know what? Get it out of here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if you bought your Revival Selection Pack for Genesis and you got 4 Taros, because,
Rip.
but
Doesn't,
it is
does
what
that
it
come
is.
with Regalia stuff?
No. But yeah, I think this one we just easily agree
Yeah,
on.
easy.
It's abusable. It's
Yeah.
not fair. It's not fun.
She's gotten away with it for a long time. I think it's one of the original loops in Vanguard, and
The Wiseman loop,
and
as
it,
they
it
call
just
it.
got stronger and stronger as time went on.
Yep. So, good riddance, as
Yes.
they say.
Genesis also has Regalia.
Yeah. Genesis
Don't know
is
if
still
the Revival Collection has it or not, but they're gonna be fine. just like
Genesis still
Luard.
has good stuff. It's not, the clan is not dead. All right. Here's a card we will all also
Oh
agree
my
on.
god.
For Nubatama,
Uh,
Shura Stealth Dragon, Jamia Congo, completely restricted. I just want to say,
I know what you're.
I just want to say that I've believed that this card should be banned for a while, and a lot of other people have believed it, and there are some people out there who wanted to make a big stink, and but it's fine. I'm glad it's gone, and I'm glad, because saying to rush a deck down before they can do this thing for free is not counterplay. Rush is not counterplay. I want to make that clear. It's a strategy, but it's not counterplay. And straight up, not every clan is gonna have the ability to rush.
Nope.
And sometimes you're just not gonna draw grade 1s and grade 2s enough to rush. So again, that is not counterplay. So, I'm fine with this card being gone. Good riddance. I hate this card. I do not like it.
I've never fought a deck with Jamio Congo in it before,
Good.
and I never want to. And now I never will.
I have nightmares.
I love that you're like just living off of Spite right now. Because
Yeah, it's just not a fair card. Just straight
Yeah,
up.
I've never really had much thought on it, but again, just philosophy-wise, yeah, it's a little... Hand stuff is Nubatama's gimmick. You can't take it away from them. People are annoyed by it, but it's their thing. That one though definitely does.
It's just yeah.
It's a little.
It's one thing to have to like discard a card, discard 2 cards even, but just to be like your hand cannot be above 4 at the end of each turn, not just your opponent's turn or your turn. At the end of each turn, you have to discard down to 4, and it's just again. Once you reach that point in the game, it becomes pretty much a struggle to even survive because it's just like you can't guard, or if you do guard, you can't play anything. So it's just like, well, this sucks.
Yeah, it's a good hit.
Yeah, it's just not fun. And it's like, again, it's just not fun. I like a good, challenging Vanguard match. That's great. A lot of grind, a lot of back and forth. This card takes out the grind and the back and forth. It just makes you sit there and go, well, I hope I don't die.
Are you saying you don't like this card because it prevents you from playing the game?
Stop.
Is that what you're saying?
Alexi, how many times are you gonna go over here? You can cut this part out. How many times are you gonna go over here and beat this absolutely like horse skeleton level dead horse?
He's already dead. Stop. He's already
The person who is
They
saying
banned Zink. It's over.
the person who is saying he's already dead has died. That's how long this has been going on.
And I'm right.
Jammy doesn't have a cost, right? There's no resource.
The first time, so when you first play Jammy, it goes down to 6. But once you have a grade 3 in Soul, it's
Okay,
4.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Part of the thing with the new way you could build the deck with Overdress is the Triceratops
Right.
can go into Soul on your grade 3 turn. So immediately you can also make your opponent go to 4. So if you're going first and you have Jammy, you play that, you play Triceratops, throw it in while your opponent's on grade 2. It's like, oh, now you're only down to 4 for the rest of the game. Sorry, you should have rushed me. You know? So,
Yeah.
You're so salty.
like,
You know.
yeah.
All right.
So, it's fine.
Cut back in.
It's okay to block people. All right, so we're moving on to the next. You're not weak for blocking someone. You're actually stronger than them because of it. All right, so moving on to the next one, Murakomo. Again, I think none of us will disagree.
It's
especially,
easy.
especially not me. Ambush Demon Stealth Beast Nue Dio. This card sucks. I've had to play against it multiple times. And it's literally just like, again, same thing we were talking about earlier. It's like, oh, you're on grade 2, you're dead. You're dead. You're dead. And I know that there's like a teensiest bit of counterplay that you could apply to it by just never attacking your opponent and like turtling up and, you know, hoping you go first and stuff like that.
I hate that kind of counterplay where it's literally just like, don't do anything.
But it's like, again, it's just not fun. It's straight up unfair, and yeah,
Goodbye.
I'm fine with it being gone.
Yeah, it's just unhealthy
Yeah.
for the game. I love seeing, you know, people like Solemn or Freeze Ray players find ways to stick it to these kind of decks.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be what you have to do
Yeah.
to play the game in a competitive environment.
You shouldn't have to
Agreed.
think, well, I need to build a deck I actually enjoy in a manner that will specifically counteract this one deck that is unholily broken.
I don't even remember what Nue Dio does.
Nue Dio, so just to describe it in like the simplest terms, is Nue Dio enables you to stride on your first grade 3 turn, and then you can attack like a lot.
Oh my god.
Because you can attack with, you get Excel circles too.
Yeah.
So it's got your Excel circles. You can attack with like your whole front row. You attack Nue Dio with this ridiculous 5-card guard restrict. So you usually just have to take that.
Oh yeah, that's
You-
right.
And then
and then
You have
restand
to,
every
you
other card.
restand.
you have to call from your hand as well, I believe. Is what it's
Yeah, I think you can't G guard.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no,
Who
that,
designed this?
Yeah,
that card should have gone a long time ago.
well, as a lot of people have said, Murakomo's never been good. So then they were like, all right, let's give Murakomo a good card. And unfortunately, it was just like too good.
I feel like also at one point, I could be wrong about this, I feel like at one point Nue Dio was kind of like a meme. It's like, oh, this card's really broken, but it's hard to use. But then V-Series Hyuga came out and made it incredibly not hard to
It's
And then it
specifically-
wasn't funny
It very
anymore.
specifically works with Hyuga. And some people were like, well, why don't you just choice restrict it with Hyuga? But that just prolongs it becoming a problem again.
Yeah.
It's part unhealthy for the game, part future-proofing.
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
ban.
It might have come out after Hugo came out. Actually.
I feel like it is Hyuga support specifically.
Yeah.
Either way.
But
busted.
either way, hate it. Not fun. It's
Easy.
just like, oh, cool, I died. I didn't play the game. Oh, this is best of one format? Oh, that sucks. Okay.
Next.
All right, so Murakomo again. Stealth Rogue of Concealment Tanba. This is the infinite loop card for Murakomo. So you would either build Nue Dio super beatdown, or you would build Tanba infinite loop.
Yeah.
Not as good as Nue Dio, nor as consistent. But again, we already gone over this.
Yeah,
just
just
getting rid of
just
like
take out the
infinite
loops.
loops.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's cool. It's fine. Apparently, I heard some people in Japan were using this build of the deck a little bit in
Yeah,
tournaments.
I heard this and the next one were somewhat influenced by.
So here's the next one. This is the one we'll
the
actually
next
talk
one,
about.
Yeah.
So for Link Joker,
Uh-huh.
Turmoil Starvader Zinc has been completely restricted, removed from the game
Uh-huh.
forever.
Uh-huh.
You cannot play
Yep.
her anymore.
Ever.
And I hate it. I hate this restriction. Now, here's the thing. I play Chaos. I play Link Joker. I build every Link Joker archetype. I love Link Joker. It is basically tied for my favorite clan. And I also understand hitting this card. However, I think it should not have been restricted completely. I think it would have been fair to put it to 1. Now, I know some people will say, but Colony Maker can search it, guaranteeing that you get it. And yes, if you don't like that, then fine. I guess a ban sounds fair to you. I think it's fair to let Chaos have one time where it can recoup some resources. Not everyone will agree with that. I think it's fair to have one time in the game where you can get some soul back. The counterblasts, I don't care about the counterblasts. I am whatever. People were like, how do we get the counter chargers back? How do we get... I'm just like, I don't care. I don't need the counterblasts. It's the soul. The soul is so important in that deck.
Babe, Chaos has no soul. That's the point.
So look,
here's the thing. I have two major points. Number one, when we were going over with me, I'm a more casual player, so I don't really understand the ins and outs of most pro play, or like competitive play. And we were talking about how to counterplay Link Joker. And it's literally just wait until they run out of resources. Zinc does not allow you to do that. And because you can search it out, it's not okay. Like, if you couldn't search it out, I would say yes, maybe restrict to 2 or 1 even. But because it is essentially completely free, and I know they don't think it's free because you have to have a Chaos Vanguard
I know it's
and
free.
a live card.
I'm just being a pain.
because
when I
it's
say
completely
it's not
free. And basically denies you that one counterplay for playing against Locke. Like, that I feel like is enough to warrant it just going straight to 0.
The other issue, though, that I do have with it is there's, like, nothing even remotely good that you can put in its place in terms of resource management.
Welcome to the
prison.
rest of the game.
Look, I know everyone says run the prison, and I'm going to experiment with it and see how it works, you
Yeah.
know. The problem with prison, though, is you are definitively losing guard power by putting it in the deck.
That's true.
And it'll brick running prison, because you're gonna use like the one when you need it, and then you're gonna have like 3 useless cards floating around. Like, if you want to be bonkers, you could play a second one and get 6 soul. But I think at that point, if you're at the point where you've had to charge 6 soul, like, you're probably running out of deck. Like, you're probably very close to just decking out.
All right, and I had my second point was back to the game philosophy of both players being able to play the game. So if Chaos has like limitless resources, your opponent will never be able to play. Like, they will do Vanguard swing and then end turn because they cannot call rear guards or they get locked, and they have like or if they do call rear guards or are forced to call, that column is basically locked forever. So it like now it's in premium, especially probably because V has a lot of like early turn rush, especially if you go first. You can actually do the counterplay that you told me to do with Chaos and just wait for it to run out of resources, and then have a better chance of being able to actually play the game. Does that make sense?
Oh, I mean, I get it. Like, here's the thing. I completely get it. Like, I'm fully understanding of the restriction. I just hate it. And, like, that's my thing. It's like, that's just my personal feeling. From a purely objective perspective, I get it. You know what? Sure. And everyone loves to say, well, you probably don't want Link Joker being top tier. Why? Why? There has to be some.
You know why?
I
Because
know
it's
why.
not fun to play against.
There has to be a top tier, okay?
There will always be a top tier.
Why can't the clan I like be allowed to be in the top tier?
They just want to promote a more fun environment for competitive play, because the last, however many years of competitive play have literally been like, I go first, I win, and your opponent doesn't get to play. So that is kind of like the philosophy here. It's not that they don't want Link Joker to be meta, is that Link Joker at that point is not that fun to play against because it has limited counterplay if you cannot just wait for it to run out of resources. Do you know what I mean?
Now, I disagree with your go first win thing with Chaos. To me, Joker...
No, not Chaos. Not Chaos. The meta before. Like, with infinite loops and superior strides. It's like, if you go first, you basically win, because you get to grade 3, you do your infinite loop or whatever, and then you kill your opponent, and your opponent doesn't get to play.
And that's why Link Joker was, like, the counter to that. That's why I like Link Joker. Link Joker is the one that you're like, all right, I don't want to play that form of degeneracy. I'm going to do my counter degeneracy to try and, like, control their board state to keep that from happening.
Yeah, I'm just giving my thoughts on it. It's a motion to make it so, like, number one, because the game slows down, just to make Chaos not oppressive, and number two, to like actually like foster the idea of both players getting to play the game.
I don't really think Zinc, even with the meta slowing down, I don't think Zinc would make Chaos oppressive or top tier. I just think in a slower meta where you can rewind the amount of turns you've been stalling so easily, it also rewinds by probably about 2 turns approximately, not even 1. It's just kind of unpleasant. I could see why Link Joker players are kind of having a hard time with this, though. I think this, my optimistic take of this is I think this is a ban that will turn out all right for the clan in the long term when more cards get released and designed for the clan. It is definitely rough in the short term because I'm not sure Link Joker, again, has many solid options that are as good as Zinc, but unfortunately Zinc was maybe just a little bit too good. There's kind of a discrepancy there in your resource management
If Zinc,
cards.
literally, if Zinc is counter charge 1, soul charge 1, not a problem.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that too.
Yeah.
The thing is, we don't have that. That's the
When
problem.
it comes out, there you go. You know.
I'm like, if they want to drop a card in like one of these V collections that can do something like that, then I'm all for it. It just sucks that it doesn't happen. Now, I will also say, I have seen a lot of people straight up go, Chaos is dead.
As
That
you
is-
should be.
That is
That's right.
that is, I will say, not true. But if you want to believe that, Link Joker is dead and worthless, please believe that, and please do not prepare yourself for a match against it.
That sounds like a threat.
I firmly welcome the meta where people go, oh, Link Joker's not a problem. I will not build my deck nor work on my strategy to work around it.
I have no idea
Be
how
my
you
guest.
build a deck around Link Joker.
As much as I hate Link Joker, I don't think this was the perfect solution, at least for the time being. I hope that they do release something in the future that gives you a few more options. I think for the time being it does promote deck diversity, which is cool, but you also have like your only options are prison, soul crits, maybe. I don't, you have like very few options.
I think the idea now is to run prison and Bowl Mine.
Which sucks.
It's
Yeah.
really, I feel like maybe I don't know what the perfect solution is. Maybe restrict it to one. Maybe choice restrict it with the. Well, I guess if you choice restricted it with the one that just calls it out, then what's the obvious pick. But I don't know. I don't know what the perfect solution is. But maybe just put it at one. Maybe I don't know. As much as I hate Link Joker,
I think Cabana's fair.
Here's
That's
the
all I
thing.
gotta
It
say.
is what it is. It is what it is,
Yeah,
and I just
yeah.
have to accept it. Like, here's the thing: is they love to respond to people being upset about the game. They won't respond to this one. They will certainly not be like, oh, Link Joker players are upset about this. Oh fuck. that's just straight up what it is, and it's like, I just have to accept it. I just have to accept it. I just have to accept that I play the clan that everyone hates. I want it to be just a little anecdote real quick. Someone I never met before came to like the local shop that we play, like someone who was just on vacation passing through playing Vanguard. And he was like, well, we were talking a little bit, oh, you could play Premium? Yeah, I play Premium too, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, what do you play? And he's like, oh, well, I play Hellheart 8 and Gasteel Daimonis. I'm like, oh. He's like, what do you play? I'm like, oh, well, I play like Royal Paladin, but I also really love playing Chaos and Link Joker. He goes, oh, no, that's toxic. And I'm just like...
You have nothing but loop deck.
You're like, you play Gasteel Daimonis and everyone hates me for playing Chaos. Okay.
I'm allowed to hate both of them.
All right.
How dare you lock my rear guard before I kill you instantly?
Right. I've suffered enough through this. Let's move on. We've only got a couple more. Speaking of Gasteel Daimonis, Dark Irregulars, Evil God, Pontiff Gasteel Daimonis.
Easy.
To 0. I built this deck
and
because
you never play it.
you're right. I built this deck because I wanted to have like my own toxic pet deck for whenever I needed it. And even then, I didn't even use it. I didn't even take it to like the actual tournament. I was just like, you know what? I don't want to play a toxic deck of BSF. Huge mistake. I should have played a toxic deck. But I built it basically just to have it in case, like I said, big tournament, have to play something meta even if I think it's not fair and fun. I played it a very small handful of times against some of the friends, and I was just like, yeah, this isn't fun. It's just mean. It's just like I play Chaos, and I'm like, this is just mean. It's like, oh cool, you gave me some damage. All right, well, time to 0 to 6 you.
Yeah.
Bye.
It's just it's unhealthy for the game format. And it's good to be gone.
Yeah, that might have been one of the ones that got shot from all sides, kind of a philosophy ban. And then also future proofing. They could never design Dark Irregulars grade 3s to be good.
It's part of the reason why Rage is so bad.
As long as this card exists.
Rage is so...
Yo, what's up with Rage?
Yeah,
Rage is such trash.
Rage is so bad because they didn't want it to be broken with Gasteel, and it's like, well, too bad they didn't think ahead that they were gonna ban Gasteel. But it is what it is. Sorry, Ragey. But yeah, no, I'm I play Dark Irregulars, like I said, a little bit. I'm cool with this. I think the clan is still really good. Still a lot of really good cards.
It takes away an auto win, but that doesn't make it bad.
I know it's like you can still play No Life King. I've seen people now doing Barrow Magnus No Life King, which is just that's goofy. That's pretty wild actually. It's counterblast heavy, so you can get around it a little bit, but I'm like, that's fun. And then Shaharo's still a solid card. Maybe it wouldn't be a top tier version of the deck, but just you could still build a decent Shaharo. Like Dark Regulars is not dead.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Right. I think this is one that unites all of us.
Yeah.
Just throw the card out.
Yeah.
Everybody is rejoicing in the streets, burning their mana.
Burning their Casteels.
And back to Pale Moon, Visible Songster has been restricted. Another infinite loop.
Yeah.
People only played this card for the infinite loop. It wasn't like, oh, there's some other builds of this deck that people play. It's like,
yeah, no, Songster is like a common or something.
It's not very good in the V version of Pale Moon, but because of the weird interactions that because Pale Moon, it just basically created infinite loops, and it's like, all right, cool, we're done. A lot of people for a long time have been like, yo, this should not be a thing because it's an infinite loop. So it's cool. It's gone. I'm fine. I'll live. We'll all live.
Yeah.
That's it. It's easy.
Bermuda Triangle, Spirited Star Trois. This is similarly the superior riding
into early stride.
So cool. whatever.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have no
Yeah.
opinion really.
Yeah.
And now
it's-
Bermuda decks will actually have their own identities. Literally every
'Cause
Bermuda deck
all
list
had to
is just play Riviera, play the Riviera ride line,
Yeah.
play Schwa, and then
go up.
just go
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, no, cool. I'm not a fish person, so I'm pretty whatever about Bermuda, so I am whatever. Cool.
I think this, like, with Gastille and with Twa, I think it does, also help promote deck diversity, which I think is important. I mean, the goal is to make the game fun and not, make people want to quit and to draw people into this format, which I do see a lot more people being interested in playing premium or starting to play premium.
Much to my chagrin, because prices are going up.
Yes, prices are going. Yes, but I feel good about it. I like the idea of not every single Shadow Paladin deck running the PBD superior ride. I feel like it's just overall very healthy for the game.
Hooray!
Yeah.
There is one more change
Yes.
that got added. This was like a rule change that is for stand triggers, and the rule is rear guards that stand by a stand trigger cannot perform drive checks until the end of turn, with a little asterisk that says if a rear guard reveals a stand trigger for its drive check and that rear guard stands by it affects, that drive check will be fully performed, meaning if it has more than one drive, if the first drive reveals a stand, you can still perform the rest of your drives in that specific check, and then it can't drive check anymore. Bit of a goofy way to word this.
Yeah.
Essentially, I like what it accomplishes. It's just a silly
Yes.
wording that I find somewhat confusing. If you read it the first time, you're like, wait, what does that mean? But
Yeah.
basically, forever now, a rear guard can only drive check once if it's allowed to drive check. Except for if you can find ways to restand rear guards with other effects that are not stand triggers, but usually that requires some actual, like, resources and elements of skill.
And not running 16
Yeah,
stand
Yeah.
the Valkyrian and the Vision token decks were basically just you try to high roll your way into looping as much as possible and just winning based on that. So this gets rid of that. It's
your
cool.
opponent can actually take their turn after you stride.
A lot of people were talking about ways to fix this issue. I think this is a solid way to fix the problem while also future-proofing similar problems
Yeah.
in the future.
I know a lot of the other content creators were like, just like errata, like Valkyrion and
I would have been
Blade
fine
Master.
with that too,
Yeah.
honestly.
I think this one is better.
But it works out. It just like keeps them
Yeah.
from like accidentally writing a card without the only does it the first time text or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm cool with it. Some people were like, oh, just limit stand triggers. And I'm not a fan of limiting triggers, at least not in premium. I just like you to, think about what you want to do. I mean, like, if someone wants to be silly enough to run 16 stand triggers, like, be my guest. In this specific situation, it, like, was unfair and busted.
In this specific situation, your opponent's turn would never end.
Yeah, it's like if you play like a normal deck and you run 16 stand triggers, like you'll probably be able to get off a couple extra attacks, but you'll have lower shield value, you'll never heal, and your attack power also wouldn't be higher. So you would sacrifice a lot to run 16 stand triggers at this point. So, like I said, you can still do it if you want. And you can still do it in these decks. And you will get some restanding off, most likely. But it won't be, like, semi-infinite.
Yeah, I was gonna say this one is interesting because, like, unlike the other hits, which just eliminate the deck entirely, you can actually still play the Blade Master deck probably almost exactly as it was when you were looping with it. It's just now it actually functions more in a way that it should. I
More
also,
in a way it was intended to be played.
I also agree this is a good way to do it. Again, we all had different ideas about how to do this. I never saw anyone quite come up with it this way, I think, but I think this is a good one. I also never agreed with limiting stands. I know, there aren't a lot of decks that run stands. They're mostly niche, but, I think this was a problem that could be solved without affecting those, which is nice. Like we said with Temposphere, sometimes you have to make sacrifices, but I don't think always you have to. In this case, I didn't think they had to, so I'm glad that they didn't, even though it would only affect more niche sorts of things like deleters or Angel Feather.
It also enables Bushiroad to like potentially like make more stand triggers that have like better shield value and like V power without like completely over like tuning the deck.
I feel they will not make new stand
But
triggers.
if they did,
I'm not saying it's completely impossible. I'm not saying that they could never do it.
I mean, I don't think they will either.
I just
but,
find
like,
it highly unlikely, but yeah,
Not-
sure.
like-
if
like,
they did
if-
decide to make
like it would be like a premium specific thing only, kind of like the
I agree.
the stride crits.
Yeah, I agree that if they did do it, it would not be like, oh, it's in V or overdress.
I would be so broken in
It-
overdress.
it would be 100% for premium only if they ever did that. But again, I still feel like they probably just won't. Like, because also like objectively stands are like one of the worst triggers. Like they just have the skills usually that make them really good, but like as like purely what a trigger does, stands are usually like worse than all the other triggers.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I don't think they need to make more. It's fine. But that is everything on the ban list.
Yay.
Huge, big ban list.
Yeah.
I think overall we're all very pleased and happy. Some of us obviously have our little gripes here, but like we talked about like the zinc thing. Like I mean, ultimately, like I'll move on. It's not ultimately that big a deal. And like Joe said, I agree. I think in the long term there will be solutions for it that aren't there right now.
Right.
But they will like come back eventually, and like that's fine. There is an ebb and flow in every card game. Some decks will be at the forefront, and some will move back as time goes on. It is fine. Yeah, but overall, I really like the ban list. I think it makes premium overall more playable.
Yeah.
Which is like the whole point, because we really like playing premium here. Mostly just like the kitchen table premium. It appears that our camera's running low on battery. We've been talking for a very long time. If you've made it this far in the video anyway, you are a real trooper, and we love you for that. Thank you.
Leave a like,
Yeah.
comment,
Subscribe. Yeah. Everyone who listened to this far, you're a real one, because we basically just rambled.
Yeah, we did.
And then, like, honestly, I think for the most part we said things that the community largely agrees with.
Gonna title this video "Premium Kitchen Table Talk."
Yeah, it's I thought it'd be fun to get the team together and just have a nice conversation about the ban list. Like I said, we are like semi-competitive and semi-casual, so
I'm trying to branch out a little bit more competitively,
Yeah.
We can play at locals now comfortably without needing like a gentleman's agreement.
Yeah. And also, like, we all have started playing during COVID, so like we haven't been able to go to big tournaments because they just simply have not existed. So I definitely will be playing actually competitively when the opportunity arises.
Yeah.
I'll give it a try. I have like mixed feelings about being competitive, but anyway.
But it's okay to enjoy the game casually too. I always want to make it clear that when some people, especially when we're talking about premium, will be like, I want to build this goofy deck, and then everyone's automatically like, well, this deck sucks, why would you want to build it? Like, hey, it's okay to build crappy decks that are fun, that you just want to play with your friends. I know this is going to sound wild, but you can play card games for fun. You don't have to play to be a competitive player.
you can build a jank deck to like a certain extent.
I mean, like, okay, make sure your deck is playable. Okay, but like, if it's like not gonna be some like super high top tier deck, and or even if it's gonna be like relatively low mid, but it just like does something goofy and fun that you want to experiment with, like, do it.
Yes, do it, and never mind.
Like maybe don't take it to like a regional or something, but like when you and your friends are just hanging out, playing.
I was gonna talk about
Play your silly deck.
My choo-choo deck that got absolutely demolished.
No.
Yeah, it's okay.
So build it like at least a little good. but not like top tier, you know. Keep it cash.
Look, I like playing the leaders, which we all know is objectively the worst Link Joker archetype. It's okay. It's still fun. I still enjoy playing it. Like, and it still annoys them. So I think mission accomplished.
We're rambling again.
Okay, right.
But yes, but thank you to our 100 subscribers. You are all super
Yes.
duper people, and
Yeah.
look forward to more videos. We've got a Lyrical Monastery unboxing coming up when that comes out,
Yeah.
which is in like
A month?
2 weeks. So,
I guess not even a month now. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. It's October now, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
I think the sneak is like next week.
Well,
Oh, Lord.
so we'll be
Yeah.
definitely getting into some goofy new cards soon. We'll have more premium content. We'll have overdressed content,
Yep.
and then when like V collection comes out, we'll probably talk about some stuff around that too. So we've got so much stuff coming forward, and of course, a fun special video that we'll get to eventually for our milestone. So
It'll be very gay and very trans. So look
Yes.
forward to that.
I mean, all our videos are.
well, thank you all for watching. We've been Rainbow Reverse, wishing you all the best.
Bye.
Bye.